Yeah. You really want me to talk? Good evening. Welcome to the September 9th, 2024 meeting of the Kingston Board of Selectmen. Please rise and join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's a good start to the meeting.
No, it's not. I'd like to begin by first introducing the board. To my far left is board member Laurie Schwett. My immediate left is Vice Chairman Glenn Koppelman. Ellie Alessio, your chair. To my right is Chuck Hart, board member, and Peter Bakey, another board member, and our administrative assistant Susan Ayer to his right. We have a couple of appointments this evening. It's going to be a tough night, guys. I'm just telling you right now. So the first appointment is with SMP Architects. Presentation on the project to replace the front stairs of Town Hall. Yes. Come on down. Please introduce yourself by giving us your name, and you need to turn one of the microphones on with a little green light showing. There you go.
Good evening, all. My name is Anthony Mento. I'm with SMP Architecture. Thank you for having me here this evening. As you state, I and my firm are working on the renovation of your front entry stairs. They've failed numerous times over the years, and you know the drama more than I. And what we've been tasked with is twofold. We're doing phase one, which is design drawings to engineer and replace everything as is with code compliant stairs and railings. And then phase two is we're working on a building assessment of the whole property here to look at the shortcomings, the code issues, make some recommendations on mechanical, electrical, heating systems. And then we're looking at how to reconfigure your offices to better utilize the space you have and serve your needs and make it a safe and secure workplace for your employees. So there's a lot going on, but tonight I'm here just to talk about your stairs and the railings. Okay. Working with Phil from the DPW and others, we measured the stairs, documented the conditions, the existing conditions, and with our structural engineer partner from TF Moran, we've developed a set of engineered documents of how to build back something that will not fail again. What we found when a geotechnical engineer came and looked at the sub-base conditions, the system, the stairs and everything that's been done over the years was built upon unsuitable soils. It's not structurally sound. And so it's heaving and water's getting in between and expanding and failing and over again. So our approach is to remove everything that's there, get down to raw earth and compact it, and then put a foundation, like a concrete foundation like you would with your home, and it would be tiered, and then the granite stairs that you have would be replaced, pinned, grouted, and new railings done. So that's the solution. Taking out what you got and putting it back in, but on a sound structure.
Can you just, you talk about code compliancy. By putting those granite blocks back essentially where they were, but on a firm base.
Yes.
Do they meet code for rise and all that?
They do.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
The thing that we need to do is put them back so that they pitch to drain any moisture that falls upon it, and you don't have the same thing occurring. So all the details that's in the set, discuss it, so we can go over that if you wish. But the other thing that is apparent is that the railings, the handrails that are there are not original. They're not code compliant. They have numerous items within the rails that mean we can't use them and we need to replace them. And so our drawings show a new rail system. When we first talked, Phil and I agreed that replacing them is necessary, and we prefer stainless steel metal because it's not going to rust or flake and rust and cause staining on the granite. So we drew and detailed a railing system that is more modern, I guess you could say it. And I understand that you've seen the renderings that I provided and had a feeling and opinion about it. My opinion differs. I think what we presented is appropriate and correct. And because, yes, it's a historic building, but in reading the federal guidelines for renovation and preservation of historic properties, the Secretary of the Interior Standards guidelines state clearly that they don't want you to put back something that looks historic. They want what's put back to be clearly modern, significantly different enough than what is there originally historically. They want the ability for historic buildings to look like that was a renovation and that was clearly done recently, and that's the historic building, and that's clearly historic. So that's why we presented modern-looking stainless steel railings. Yep.
Have you looked into powder coating stainless steel, which can be done for
Absolutely.
color?
Yep, absolutely.
And that would prevent the rusting and staining, but yet would give you a black color versus stainless steel.
Yep. You can do that for stainless steel also.
Okay.
So we're not intending to build this ourselves, but because usually you or folks in your position want to have a sense of what the costs may be for stainless steel versus cold form steel, powder coated, hot dip galvanized. I went and contacted a few individuals in our field that do miss metals, and so I have a general sense of what it would be for stainless steel and versus cold form steel, powder coated. So it's like, if it was $20,000 for the railings, it would be like $15,000 for steel powder coated. I think we would propose, if it was raw steel, we would want to have it hot dip galvanized, because then all the welds are covered and then you can paint it either with a powder coat or others. But yes, I agree with you.
So did I want to make sure I understand what you just said.
Yep.
The cost for the steel with coating and so forth is less than stainless?
Yep.
It is?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I got that right, because I think from some of our earlier discussions, I was under the impression that to go to something other than stainless might cost us more money.
Nope, stainless is more costly.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Because it's the right product. You know.
Sure.
So I brought the drawings, if you wish to see them. The railing, is a pipe rail. It's the right diameter, it's the right height, it's got the right extensions as needed to meet your code. There are other options. One that we've done not long ago for the town of, the city of Lebanon, New Hampshire. We did the Lebanon Public Library, and I brought these I can give you. It's steel, it's wrought iron, not by a blacksmith, but it's pre-manufactured iron that are more decorative, that gets powder coated at the end. So there is a way of doing new railings that have more character than what we showed originally, if you choose. There's different ways of doing it.
At what point do we need to make a choice?
These drawings are done, so I can give these to Phil and they can go out now.
And those drawings include the stainless steel rails?
These drawings can be either.
Okay.
They're shown to be stainless steel. My spec says stainless steel, but I can make that change easily.
So there is sort of part of my question is,
Yep.
At what point do you need a decision so that you can get the drawings correct, so that when we go out to bid, it's the right package of stuff?
I would like a decision sooner rather than later, just so that we can back it up and move on with the next phase of the project. That's why I brought stuff with me today, so that you can look at, think about, and get back to me.
Okay.
Don't let us think too long. You know what I'm saying?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
I'd rather have a drop-dead deadline soon.
Next Friday.
I'm a retired editor. I live by deadlines. You give me a deadline, we make it.
Next Friday, so that the following week I can finish the drawings and getting it into Phil's hands, because you have stairs that are open that need to be repaired before winter sets in.
This Friday or next Friday?
Next Friday.
Friday the 13th.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it.
That's this coming Friday.
That's this Friday.
This Friday,
You want it, so you want a decision Friday, this,
yes. That
in
would be
4
great.
days?
And we are all at the polls tomorrow. I think that would be a perfect opportunity to look over these drawings, take a look at the railings.
Yep.
And we are, it's a posted meeting, correct, Susan? So we can make a decision on which railings and have it to you before Friday. How's that sound? Even better, right?
Can I approach the bench?
Sure.
It will be, yes.
And it's still code compliant?
That will be, yes.
What about the third item in sort of the mix? You talked about hot dipped.
Galvanized, yep.
If you add that to the mix, what does that do to the
That was
cost?
that was like the 15.
Okay,
That's
Yeah.
stainless steel.
no,
Stainless steel was the 20, and then the 15 was welded up metal, hot dip galvanized, and then powder coated.
How long will this project take? Just,
It's gonna take longer to do the stairs than it is the rails.
so, when will the stairs be done?
Bill?
I've been talking about this for 4.5 years. I'm very anxious to have railings in the front stairs.
So our task was to design it and engineer a solution. And now it needs to go out for bids, and you need to select a contractor to do it.
Okay.
And I'm gonna stop there.
Mr. Coombs?
Says forged.
Oh, it says forged aluminum, but that's not what's being proposed. Oh, okay.
Mr. Coombs?
Yes. What was the question?
I don't know. Well,
When does the
when do we think we can get it done?
I'm guessing this project is gonna be for more than $10,000. We'll have to go out and solicit bids.
Right.
Well, it'll have to be 3 sealed bids for this project. It'll have to be someone to, I'm assuming, to oversee the entire project from start to finish. So it would depend on the timeline you want to have for open period for the bids. We'll have to take each one through, show them the, well, I guess we could just show them the plans. There's not much to see here. But there's going to be concerns with operating hours, as just removing the treads from the stairs interrupted everybody's work environment. So,
Well, we won't know that until we choose someone that's going to do the job, correct?
correct.
Because then you'd have a timeline and what we would need for downtime and so forth, and plan accordingly, obviously.
Yep.
Okay.
Does the onset of winter affect the timing? In other words, if we, yes, it does, I figured. So this could very well be a spring project.
Yes.
Because even if we select a vendor within 30 to 45 days, their schedule might not permit getting it done this fall.
Correct.
Okay.
So are you telling us that we'd get a pickleball court before we got the front stairs?
Oh, yeah.
Just asking.
I would say with the design not finalized yet, and the fact that we would have to go out to bid, sealed bid for 3 quotes, that's, I mean, you're looking at least 30 days, 40 days before you would have a vendor selected. Then there's items that are gonna have to be fabricated, there's a lot of things that are gonna have to go into that, so, yeah, you'll be in end of October, November at that point, which is not the most ideal time to pour concrete.
Okay, further questions? Okay. Well, we will convene at some point tomorrow to go over the plans and make a decision on the railings. I was one of the ones that wanted the black railing, but you might convince me to go with the stainless.
My question, I'm not sure if it was, my question was the stainless that you picked out that's in your drawings, that product can be powder coated.
Yes, sir.
That was my question. It might not be as ornate looking, but it'll be the color and it'll be the stainless for the longevity,
Right, that's.
but it's dark, black, which we're looking for. But it just doesn't, and it will probably last a lot longer than the other options that we're looking at on these designs. They may be fancier, but they're not gonna last as long. Versus having his product powder coated to black.
Okay.
That was my thought.
Yeah. Ideally, it would be nice to have the black, but longevity is the bigger issue. Right.
And I'm sensitive to your community. Having worked with you on the fire department, we presented to the historic commission and we know their interests, and I anticipated they would want to see the railings a certain way. Again, I feel that these are compliant, they're simple, they're clean, they're seamless, they're gonna last for as long as the stairs last.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So could you address the longevity then of the alternative, the steel? With the hot dip and the coating and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. It ends up eroding from the inside out, whereas the stainless steel is just solid. It's, it still can fail in areas, but not like just raw steel will. So, I don't know, if the steel was like 20 years, the stainless steel would be 50 years, you know, so it's that kind of longevity that you have by doing it and doing it once.
That's a big difference.
Yeah. And what you have to worry about is that our granite is going to be cored, and the posts are going to be put into it, and it will be filled with non-shrink grout, and then sealed with the traffic sealant. So as long as all of that is done as it's shown, no moisture can get into there, because it's the moisture that constantly causes fractures and failures.
So if that part is done right, then should we choose the metal option as opposed to stainless, we should get pretty good longevity out of it.
You'll get longevity out of it, it's just you're not going to get the same length unless you use a stainless steel product.
Well, well, I mean, if you want to wait to discuss it tomorrow, we can, or we can discuss it now, whichever.
We can do it now if you want to. I'm more than happy to entertain discussion now and be done with this phase of it.
Well, even painted black, I still think that the stainless, with just the round piping, does not speak to the historic nature of the building nor the district that we're in. So.
Yeah, but I like 50 years versus 20, because we've done those stairs twice in the last 15 years.
Well, in Glenn's thought, if it's half the price, in 20 years you can do them again and get another 20 years out of
But
them.
it's only 5,000 more for another 30 years. That's what I hear you saying. It's 20,000 for the stainless, that should last 50 years, right?
Versus 15.
15 for 20 years. Dollar-wise, it makes more sense.
And my position would be that even if it were equal money, I would still not want the stainless. But the fact that the steel is a little bit less, I mean, that's, in my mind, that's just a bonus at this point. But it is not the deciding factor for me.
Right.
It's the form and the look of it that is my position on this. And that if we do the installation correctly and it's sealed correctly, it's going to outlive most of us sitting at this table.
Well, I expect to be here 20 years from now, because I get a haunt Phil every once in a while. Just saying. He's not laughing, but that's another story.
And just for the record, while we're talking about it, I think that is it Dan? Your name?
Anthony.
Anthony. Oh, how did I get Dan?
I don't know.
Sorry about that. I think what you presented here in the pictures does, in my mind, meet the aesthetics that I would expect in the historic district and on this building. So I would be fine with the metal option as shown and described to us here.
What he said. So I think when that other option was shown and we discussed it with the Heritage Commission and the Historic District, right, they would much prefer something that was not so industrial looking. Even if it was powder coated black, it's still very industrial and not in keeping with the feel of the building. And I do believe this option, as Glenn said, if whatever the solution is put into the steps in the manner in which you said, right, then it will help with the longevity. So I'm not for the stainless steel.
Do you guys want to see these pictures again?
Oh, I saw them.
Well,
I'm in agreement with you, Glenn, and the black, and I'm in agreement also that round, as you said, would not look the aesthetics. I understand the longevity, what you're talking about. However, how long have those ones been out there for?
not long enough,
Yeah, they all rotted off, and they cut them down.
both. I think they've been replaced once, twice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at where they were cut when they moved the granite blocks, I mean, they're pretty solid in the granite. So at least the one that I looked at wasn't rotted.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it had been in there, but it wasn't. Okay,
That's not very long.
but it wasn't rotted. If it was rotted and Phil said it's only been in there 6 years, I'd say, well, that's a problem. But it's not. It was perfectly fine. It was very stable and solid.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then, ladies and gentlemen. Don't all speak at once.
Chuck, did you want to weigh in before I?
I'm with the majority of whatever that we want. I don't have a feeling one way or the other, so I will go along with what you guys want.
All right, I'm going to make a motion then that that we choose to move forward with railings for the front steps as described by Anthony from SMP, to be the steel railings, hot dip, powder coated, all those things that you described, and per the example photographs that you showed on previous work, and along with spec sheet number 474 regarding styling for the railings.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
I just want to, we are stewards of the money, but we're also stewards of this building. And I feel because the Heritage Commission and no one from Historic District is here to speak, I feel like we need to make sure we're also honoring how they feel about it. So I feel we have to be mindful that we're stewards of this building and the look of it, so.
So noted. Anyone else that wants to comment? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
I
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it.
Did you vote, Ellen?
I always vote with the majority unless I say no. I just assume I'm going with the majority. I'm not opposing it.
With that, Anthony,
You got an even earlier answer. How do you like that?
and that you have to do, well, because it's different, you have to change the plans
No.
Yes.
On the railings you do.
on the railing. Well, I'm trying to get it so that if it were all done tonight, Phil could take the plans and start, writing up the RFP for the bids. But it's got to go back to you and you've got to change it, or can you just put an addendum to it for the railings?
I need to go back and make a modification to the railings to depict the version that you see there. And then adjust the specification that talks about stainless steel, make it cold form, galvanized, powder coated. So,
And then once you get that back to Phil, he can
Get it out to bid.
correct.
do you, and have you had any put into as to whom we should send it out to, in your opinion yet?
I think the
It's an open
town,
bid, anybody can bid it, but obviously want to make sure it gets to the right people.
Phil, do you have you must have a list of folks that you do not?
I mean, this is gonna be multiple trades for this project, so I don't have a ready list of that. Just trying to find a block guy for the South Station was an ordeal in and of itself, so this hopefully is a little easier, just because it's concrete work, but I don't think we should hand select. I think we should see what comes in and make the decision from there.
I agree with Phil. I see multiple subcontractors. Staff has been doing the demo. I think the rest of it needs to be removed. There needs to be a civil site guy, site contractor to dig it all out. You need a concrete company to form it, pour it, flat work. You need a mason to put back all of the stone. You need a Miss Metals contractor to make the railings and do the welding, then galvanize it. So there's multiple individuals, so.
So how can we put that out to bid like that?
I think we would be bidding for a general contractor.
Right.
And then they would find their.
They would sub it out.
Yeah.
I see, I
Yep.
see.
Yeah, we wouldn't be picking the individual.
Gotcha, all right, got it. Someone that could do the whole job, but he would use his own subs. He or she would use their own subs.
Right. Anthony, would you like these back, or should we put these in our file?
Go right ahead. I have copies at the office.
Okay, thank you. So Susan, we'll leave these with you? Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item next would be our Recreation Director, Paul Butler. Come on down. Good evening. Good, how you doing tonight? You glad summer camp is over? That's good.
Yeah, successful but a long summer. The gentleman that we approved has COVID, Will McCauley. He's the other director, I think I would call him almost. He'll be the camp director, and I think he will take care of all camp stuff, like coordinating hiring of staff, field trips, all the things that go with that. I think that will be plenty for him to do, probably. My family is moving to Plymouth, Massachusetts, because that's what's best for my son. He'll be near his family that are younger than him, so when Patty and I pass, there'll be someone to do things with, and we think the services that he will get will be better as well. So with very heartfelt loss, I need to resign as a recreation director. I did sort of do this thing with Will, anticipating that this might come on, because we've been looking forever, and actually, if we hadn't found this house, we were going to stop for a while because it was so frustrating. But that's one of the reasons I wanted to have Will with me, and I could show him all those things. And so yeah, but the process of buying a house has quickened really amazingly than what it used to be. It used to be, to me anyways, it took days and weeks, and now it's hours and minutes, I guess, or something. But so the closings, I think the first week of, or October 1st, but so I'd like to propose that we put the ad in and get that out there and find some good people to replace me.
It's going to be very hard to replace you, Paul. You've done an outstanding job and created a program that we're all very proud of, and you've provided and enhanced services to many age levels to our community, for which we thank you very much. You will be dearly missed.
Well, thank you.
There's absolutely no question
And
about
it's,
that.
a lot of it is the committee too. It's an amazing committee. I know, people struggle, committees struggle with volunteers, and I've been lucky to not struggle with that at all. I have 2 or 3 very dedicated people, plus another 3 or 4 that do the best they can given family constraints and things, but it's definitely been a team effort. But thank you.
Well, and part of it too is that, you really strive to work with other people.
Right.
And your collaboration with your peers and with the other town departments, makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
yielded some good.
Yeah, and not only that, but with surrounding towns. I mean, look at the partnership that you built with Brentwood, for instance, and some of the neighboring towns, so.
And the work you've done with Melissa at the library, and Marissa as well.
I really enjoyed it. It was a challenge that Peter Bauer gave to me probably 12 or 15 years ago. And said you should do this when you go to retire, when semi-retired, and I followed up on it. It worked out really well. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to miss everybody terribly. And it's not an easy decision at all, but it's for my son, so it's a no.
Family comes first.
It's a no-brainer.
We
Yeah.
understand that,
Yeah.
but we will still miss you.
Thank you. I'll miss you guys. We've been here 32 years. So
Oh, that's a long time.
yeah, long time.
Yeah.
But not as long as some.
Yeah, well.
So what is your timing then, Paul, as far as your have you determined an end date for yourself?
Well, I'd like to get trunk or treat as set as I can, although I probably won't be here for the actual event. And I've already started that, talking to the fire department, the police department. We already talked about the one-way street and all that stuff. We need to get some trunks, and like I said, the committee is like a well-oiled machine. They know what they're doing, and got Key Club helping us and Boy Scouts helping us. So there's lots of good things happening already, but it's just, it will definitely need somebody to be the go-to person, for that day. A couple hours before, all the way during, and probably a good hour afterwards, as well as the night before, getting it ready. So it's got to be kind of one person that can answer the questions and make sure that everything goes smoothly. So
Will this person whom you want as the assistant be the right guy for that? Will he be able to do that?
I think, Will, I think
yeah.
he could do that because he can do night times. He's a teacher by day, so I think, and I've mentioned it to him. So I think he could be really good at it. He runs a camp. He's been a camp counselor and a camp director for 2 years. And if you can, I think when I was a camp director, I think I counted my name being called like 500, 600 times a day. And it wasn't just the counselors. It was, not just the kids, it was the counselors too. They probably were just as bad. But so if you can take that kind of, wherever you want.
We hope to find someone, don't get me wrong.
Right. No, we definitely need somebody to fill my position. And I think if we're going to move forward with the recreation program, I'd like to see my position go up to 20 and still keep the 4. Because, something we mentioned, Brentwood, they have a 40-hour a week person and like an administrative person. Hampton has a director and a program director and an administrative person. Just 2 examples, and we don't have that much. I think we do a fair amount given what we have, but we've got a great building, we've got a great committee, like I said. I think there's a lot more that could be done. So.
Okay. Thank you, but we're going to miss you. That's all I can say.
I'll miss
And
all
but
of
I
you.
wish you and your family well.
Yeah.
You got to take care of your family first.
Thank
I
you.
totally
No, we're
understand
excited.
that.
It's right near the water, which we've always wanted to do, and it turned out to be the right house at the right time. So,
Okay.
like I said, I would have come in earlier. It really went very quickly. You have an open house Saturday and Sunday. They want the bids by Tuesday at 5, and they're going to tell you Tuesday at 6, and then they want you to get the inspection, and it's just like this.
It goes quick.
And I didn't want to officially say anything until I've kind of kept Glenn up to speed.
As the liaison to Paul and the rec department, Paul's been keeping me up to date, but nothing was certain, so I didn't share any of that with you,
Right.
but I knew that this was coming.
Glenn's thinking about doing it, the job, so that's what he said. So
I'll add it to the list.
he'll have, when you have a vote on everything, you'll have to keep him out of it, but.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, he's very anxious to do it, actually.
Oh, good.
So,
I might have to learn how to play pickleball. Uh-oh.
You'll get the court soon, I guess.
Stick with it,
starting to
dancing,
come,
Glenn.
yeah.
Okay, all right. I think that's probably a good idea,
It's
Chuck.
probably a safer idea.
It is.
Oh. Well, thank you very much, Paul.
All right, thank you.
Well, with regrets,
Right.
we
No, my regrets too.
accept your resignation. I mean, obviously, you're not giving us the choice, but.
Right. Right. You could not accept it, but I'm still going.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's very difficult. It's something I planned on doing for at least 2 or 3 more years, but it just, like I said, everything kind of came together.
Yeah.
But family first.
So with regard to advertising and replacing Paul, and now I'm looking to the audience, do we have a current job description and so forth that we
Yeah,
can
that
work?
we do. I
We
know,
do,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we just updated it, actually.
Okay.
Paul, have you been talking with Paula about this?
Have I? Yeah.
Yes, okay.
This afternoon.
Okay.
And we worked on the job description a year ago, maybe?
Yeah, through the wage matrix.
6 months, something like that. So the job description is up to date.
Okay.
Good.
So that'll get underway shortly? Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank
All
you,
right.
Paul. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On many levels.
Thank you, Paul.
Have a good night.
You too. Yeah. Okay, well, that's I'm happy for him, but I'm sad for us. Let's put it that way. Okay, we're going to have public comment number 1 at this time. Anyone want to address the board for any reason? All right, then we'll move on to committee liaison reports. And Laurie, we'll start with you.
I've had the museum meeting and the HDC meeting. There were some, at the museum, we talked about the budget and a couple of other concerns that I'll raise with Public Works separately. And for HDC, we reviewed the revised certificate of approval application. So once some more changes are made, that'll come to this board for approval. So expect that hopefully next meeting. But that's it. Yeah.
This falls under probably not a liaison report, but it's the best place for me to fit this in. And it relates to one of the initiatives that I signed up to do on our list of things for this year.
Yeah.
And but it does touch on other groups. So I had been working toward, and I had mentioned to you all, and you were favorable to me continuing working on it, developing a volunteer memorial, and the possibility of investigating the open space where the Grace Daly House used to be. Had talked to Phil about it, had talked with some other folks in town. Seemed to be some positive feelings there about that. I had spoken with Dr. Ambrose at the school about the possibility of including some students in helping out in the design and maybe with the actual work and, you know, getting some young people involved. Well, it was all rolling along very well until some folks who use that parcel of land for other things.
Land over here?
Yes. We're not very favorable toward it. We're very negative, in fact. And Laurie had put together a meeting on site a couple of weeks ago.
Like a week and a half ago.
Yeah. To kind of discuss it, and you know, it wasn't a formal meeting. It was just a gathering, just to get some ideas, and there was a lot of negative stuff out there. So there's lots of other stuff to be done in town. I've got my plate full with things, and I'm just letting you know that I am taking that project off my list for now. If someone else wants to pick it up and carry the ball, you're more than welcome to. But for now, I'm off of it, and I will let you know when I feel comfortable going back to it. I thought you should just know this.
Well, I'm pretty surprised. I'm very surprised. Land that's owned by the town, which is over here, there were community members who objected to us doing a memorial to honor the volunteers in our community? Is that what you're telling us?
No, it's the using of that space to create a
Some kind of memorial.
Garden or
well, it would be a landscaped garden. It might also include an informational kiosk for visitors and for town residents to get information about the town, and it would include a memorial. So it would be a multi-purpose space.
On town land?
Yes.
And can anybody remember when the last time something was physically put up there and used? Like a craft fair or a tent? I mean, they say that they use it for other things. I can't. I mean, when the house was there, you had people coming in and out of the house and the
Okay,
thrift shop and all
just to
that.
be clear, I don't agree with those negative comments, and I don't believe that this board should be dictated or impeded in its work based on comments like that, because it is town land. If the select board feels that it should be used for that purpose, we can move forward with it. I would much rather move forward with projects that are positive and have good feelings associated with them, and could we push forward with it regardless? Yes, we could. I choose not to.
So,
I think, I appreciate the time you put into this. I appreciate that, but I'm also in theory that whoever these people are, I believe they should come in and be heard. At least we can hear what they have to say. If it's that important to them, it's not gonna maybe change our decision, but if they wanna be heard, they should be heard in a public venue, right?
we could do that.
I think I think they should come in and come to the board in a public meeting and talk and explain to us why we shouldn't build this volunteer memorial on town property next to the town hall. It'd be interesting to see that.
And I respect your decision to want to back off at this point. I understand, we do have a full plate on many fronts, if you will. So I don't mind waiting until the spring at this point and kind of revisiting it then, and see what we'd like to do, but I guess I'm more shocked.
Me too.
It's town land.
It was, the meeting was supposed to be like a collaboration of just throwing ideas out there, because we have ideas, we have no concept. And so the response was it was more reasons why we couldn't do it, as opposed to, every idea what we came up with was, well, we can't do it because of this, or we can't do it because of that. So it was just, it wasn't as collaborative or idea gathering as we had hoped.
Well, I'm sorry we didn't know, because I think some of us it would have been eye-opening, which is why I like Peter's idea. If you know those individuals were, tell them to come and talk to us. I mean, I'm just shocked. They're using town land for their own purposes, is that what you're saying?
Not for private purposes, it's for the benefit, I mean,
Volunteer purpose.
yes.
I'm not gonna go any further than that.
I really don't think we need to discuss it anymore. I just wanted to make sure the board knew,
Okay.
because this was on our plate, it was something that I had been working on,
Yep,
and like I said, we can pick it up another time.
yep.
And in the meantime, if the board wants to hear from the individuals that I'm referring to, I'm happy to invite them to a meeting, and,
Okay, that'd be great.
all right, I will do that.
Okay, anything else you wanted to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. I only had one item from the planning board, and that next week there's going to be a hearing on for 9 New Boston Road, and what the applicant has submitted a proposal to amend the site plan to convert the existing storage barn to a snow bike assembly and off-road repair shop. This request will also require that the applicant apply for a conditional use permit in accordance with the Aquifer Protection Ordinance article. So I'm bringing that to your attention because we have an opportunity to comment on it if we so choose to.
Is Lynn here for this?
I don't know.
Or something else?
No. You want to think about it? You don't have to give me an answer right now. Okay,
I was just clarifying the property.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with the house on the corner of New Boston Road and 125. The brown one had the tools hanging all over the side of it.
Yep.
They have some advertisement out there now. Am I correct in saying they purchased that building next door, that blue one, the metal one, that says storage building on it?
no,
Lynn is saying no.
no, it's the barn that was with the house, I
That
believe.
storage building has nothing to do with it.
Could you come forward, Mrs. Merrill, please? Ooh, you all right?
The blue storage building is on an adjacent property. This has a smallish,
Shed.
bigger than a shed,
Yeah, okay.
bigger than a garage, but not particularly very big, that they wanted to use for this purpose, coming before the planning board.
Thank you. Give it some thought, and if you,
So that That would require a site plan review as well as a conditional use permit? Okay. And that's on the agenda for?
Next Tuesday night.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, that property fronts on 125 and
New Boston.
New Boston Road.
Yeah.
So obviously the state will, well, no. The access is off of New Boston.
You don't have to comment tonight. We do have a meeting, we have tomorrow.
Yeah.
We could talk about it then, or, Monday, and then I can bring that into the board on Tuesday night.
That's fine.
Okay? Mr. Hart?
Not much. Fire department didn't have anything new going on. Town clerk, at least nothing that they wanted to divulge, let's put it that way. Town clerk didn't have anything. Budget committee, we'll get into the budget later, so there's not much there, other than the first meeting is September 18th, 7 o'clock, change the time, right? And it's kind of an organizational one, there's no groups coming in on that point, right? Correct. So, in conservation, out further with the budget under on our agenda, we'll get into that. Conservation, nothing much there. I will say, and of course it's the one night that he's not here, Rick Russman is leading a walk up Rock Rimmon Road by the fire tower.
Oh, wow.
On October 13th. So if anybody wants to do that, I will say, knowing Rick and his hiking, that if you're going to go with him, you best be prepared. Don't be the average hiker, because he's going to walk you into the ground.
Easily.
So they'd probably tell you to bring 20 pounds of rocks to put in your backpack. So that's what he does when he's prepared. So that's it.
Any questions, Peter?
Chief, you here tonight to talk about your new guy? No. Okay. Nothing on the police department. As far as the building department with Pedro, as always, he's doing a very thorough job. He's had a very difficult time with 190 Main Street. That we have a letter in our packet that talks about a failed septic system. That, from what I understand, it was at one point in time there was a request for a third unit. It was refused because the septic system could not support that unit. The unit went anyway. It failed the system. Now they're trying to put in another system. And as we all know, we talked about how wet that is down there. It needs to be a raised system. And then they're saying that they want to put possibly a business in that third area. So he is having a difficult time. They did come up with a solution for a 2-unit septic, which is in front of us in our packet. But he's in fear that they don't really follow the rules down there, and it's just going to snowball again. So he's asking for our, I don't want to say opinion or advice, but he wants to put this in front of us that this is what he's dealing with. And there are letters in your packet that will talk about this from Pedro.
Yeah.
So if you just take a quick peek at that. And the only other thing with Pedro that we really, whether we do it after in a non-public, or we do it now, or when it comes up, that we really have to talk about this, a permit for the solar field. We've put this off so many weeks, and Unitil was going to be here tonight with their representatives, and it was suggested that they don't come because we're not any further than we were last week. And it's just we delay them again and throw them out the door. So we really need to discuss this and give him some direction, because he's had a lot of different inputs and ideas on this permit fee.
So Pedro wants to discuss with the board.
He wants us, the board, because we're ultimately the ones that make the decision.
Okay.
So he's looking for some direction so these guys can have a fee. They're continuing to work down there as we told them to do that.
Right.
But there has to be some fees paid.
So what's wrong with what we thought about coming up with last meeting?
Well, that's
$30,000 and change.
That is 100% perfect. But the ultimate cost is, what does the building permit cost? That's the question. The $30,000 was to be put in escrow for any inspection besides electrical, whether it's engineering, stormwater runoff, whatever, and we would draw from that. It was an escrow account, not the building permit fee.
So you're looking for a one-time permit fee that, like,
That's-
what if you were building a house or whatever?
Correct, but if you do it with our equations and the cost of that project, it comes up to about $96,000.
Which is ridiculous.
And they're screwing down solar panels in a field. It's just, we just gotta come up with something. It's only fair to them. They've asked us how many times, and Pedro, he's called a bunch of different people, and he's getting all different feedback. So,
When you and I had talked about it earlier, I suggested that we do a 10% of the projected, and if it would be 92,000 for a normal building plan, a structure, then we do 10% for the solar panel for a fee of 9,200 for the permit itself.
correct. And we also talked, I believe, that Glenn, the big question last week was the impact fee.
Right.
We went down and we spoke to Glenn Greenwood, and I don't want to say common practice, but his feelings, very strong, we talked about this, was there would be no impact fee on that project, just like a substation. And he did tell us that when we went down and talked to him.
And we had talked with the fire chief about that as well. Do you want to weigh in on that, please? Or should I just, okay. With that kind of structure, if there were some kind of fire, the fire department would not go into the property, would be to the circumference only, and would be calling Unitil to come in to deal with the panels,
Just like a substation.
like a substation. So it would not have the same impact on the fire department as a structure would, which is why it was not necessary to impose an impact fee.
Correct. So I'm in favor of what you mentioned and suggested.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just bringing the conversation to the
Correct,
table that we need to
correct.
discuss. And, so,
Did you want to weigh in, Laurie, Glenn? What do you think? I'm just trying to be equitable with, but still engender a fee.
Right.
that's not to include the inspection fees, because there's a
No,
lot
no,
of
no,
inspection fees.
there'll
It's
be,
totally
there'll
different.
be, right, there won't be plumbing, but they certainly will, the electrical are gonna go directly billed to.
Which gets billed directly to Unitil.
Correct, and there would be stormwater, there might be engineering fees, those are in addition. This is strictly for the building permit itself.
Correct.
Right, the inspections would be, the electrical gets billed directly to Unitil.
Yep.
The other inspections would come out of the escrow fund.
Correct,
And if we get to the point where the escrow is drawn down or close to zero and it's gonna need more, we would need to notify them to replenish
Right.
that.
now, the agreement has to include that should they run out of escrow, or get down to within $5,000.
Do we have any example in town of a, I know we don't have a solar project to look at, but is there anything in town that we could look at to give us some guidance as to a number on a building permit? No.
I don't think there is. I think
That's-
one of the big things that
Pedro's
Pedro had talked about, which was making this a really confusing issue, it's not really the cost of the project, it's the cost of those panels.
Right.
That's why that total
out.
number is so holy mackerel. The 11,000 panels is where all the money is. And that's what, when you do the math on a building permit, you're doing the math against the actual panels that they're gonna put up on a stand. And I know that's part of the project, but that's where all that number comes from.
So if I were putting up a building and not panels, the permit would be based on what, square footage
Square footage,
Of the building.
of the building?
correct.
Not the materials.
No,
just the
some
square-
towns will do, some towns will do cost per thousand to build. Most towns will do by square footage.
What do we do?
I think Kingston does, his new calculations are cost per thousand, which Unitil thought it was cost per 1,000 square feet, but it's actually per $1,000. And when you're talking $16 million, or whatever, it's 14 million, whatever they
Yeah.
got, and you start doing the math, it's like,
So what calculation did you use to get to the 92,000?
that's what Pedro used the calculation on 350 per thousand. That's how we come up with that number, $96,000.
Okay.
So that's how.
And then you're saying 10% of that?
Well, that's what
I'm
we're suggesting.
suggesting,
Yeah,
suggesting is-
Because that fee comes to the town,
Right,
then you still get the fees for the inspections and.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but I mean, the only, one of the things he said is he was worried about setting a precedent.
Sure.
Well, okay, the precedence would be if you come to Kingston and you want to put 11,000 solar panels in, you can do the same thing.
Well, the precedent will also be for the landfill.
No,
Well,
that's
that,
a
that
town.
that
That's
would be a
town,
town,
though.
that's a different project.
Different project, 'cause it's town.
You don't need the
Just like
permits and
Brentwood.
stuff for that.
It would be
Okay.
our, if we do the landfill,
Right,
it would be our project. Just like Brentwood has the panels by the fire station, they don't have it, they didn't have impact fees or anything, building fees, because it was built for the town's benefit.
okay.
By the town, for the town, by the town.
So I would say let's, if we hear within a day or two from, Molten Borough, was it?
Yeah, well, he's not had luck.
Well,
He
I
called
mean,
the state today on
we
that.
gotta make a decision
I
at some
think we need to
point.
make a decision.
If we don't hear from them, then we gotta make a
I
decision.
think we should make a decision.
If we hear from them in the next day or two, and we don't know, theirs could be, $500 or something for us.
Does anyone happen to know the building department people over in Exeter? Because Revision is in the process of putting a solar farm on their closed landfill right off of 111 there.
But isn't that town
That's
again?
still town, I don't see it the same.
Oh,
Yeah, that's.
Never
the-
mind.
That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
Brentwood is town.
yes, yes, yes.
I'm gonna
yes,
move
yes, yes.
that we charge a $9,200 or 10% of the value.
10% of the value.
10% of the value of the property, of the panels, as a building permit fee for Unitil.
Second.
So I'm just writing this down, 10% of the fee.
Yeah,
So
if
it
it's
was-
92, 45, whatever, it's,
And then all the inspections, the other ones will be coming out of the electrical, come out of bill directly, and then
Right.
30K in escrow, and then the escrow goes down, they have to refurb it.
if it goes down to, let's say, 5,000, we need to have a discussion about what it needs, depending on what needs to be done.
Okay.
'Cause that could be another 30,000 for all we know. We have no idea with water, stormwater, and so forth.
And
Does that
originally,
make sense, ladies and gentlemen?
and originally Unitil didn't think they had to have a permit, as I recall.
Because
the
we never
original
talked about it.
discussion.
We owned that piece of it. We were remiss in not,
Their theory was when they come to build substations, like all these substations, there's no permit.
but this is a different type of project.
You're right, it
No, but
is.
that's
You're,
what-
I,
that's what
I
they were
agree, I agree with you, that's where they were coming
I
from.
don't know, are we gonna get much
So-
kickback for this? Do you think?
I don't,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I
I
don't
don't think they just want an
I don't
answer.
think we're
What
being
was that
unreasonable.
question? What was the question?
Are they gonna push back?
Oh, so I have a question about Brentwood. So theirs is with Unitil too, right?
don't know that.
No, I don't, it's a revision. It's a town project.
That's, Unitil doesn't have power in Brentwood.
It's as if we, as a board, decided we wanted to put up solar panels on the plains.
Right.
And we talk to revision and we say, okay, we want to, what do you think? We want to service the town hall, the library, and the fire department. How many panels do we need? They'll tell us, they give us a price, and they do quote the job, and we just do it. No building permits, other than the inspections would be our cost, because it's our project. It's just
And
like,
it's benefiting our town only.
that's correct. That's correct. But Unitil is a private endeavor.
Right.
We will benefit down the road if and when their rates drop.
Yeah, I mean,
And
basically.
taxes, we do
And
get
revenue from
taxes,
taxes.
Right. I mean, basically, they're building a power plant to feed
Yes.
power to the
The
grid.
grid,
right.
Just
That's
happens
right.
to be
And it just happens to be on our
instead of
land.
burning oil or coal or
Different
whatever.
than Brentwood. or
It's solar.
Exeter.
And it will be different from our landfill.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Phil, do you want to weigh in on this? I see your hand.
I guess my question would be, from my understanding of the landfill project, that would be for revision to put solar panels to sell onto the grid, exactly like Unitil's doing, correct?
I think that,
Because it's not going to the town.
I don't think that contract is done yet.
I understand that, but again, talking of precedent here, it's not to the benefit of the town. We're just leasing them the land. They would be making money off of our land. We would get a lease payment,
If
but
we go that far, right.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's, we just, yeah.
Well, there is the possibility.
So
and-
they
and
may have to pull the permits and do the stuff that
They might.
you normally would have to do.
and I'm just saying, this
based
would
on
be
the fact
similar
you're right.
scale that we're setting a precedent for, that we could be shorting ourselves potential funds.
I think we just have to look at that project. We own the land down there, so it's different. They bought the land, so we're gonna absorb all that tax income from them. We're not gonna get taxed from up here from revision.
Right, and that's
We're
what I'm
gonna get a
saying, it's
lease.
the one thing we'd get out of it is the building permit fee.
Correct, yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, so it's a different situation at the end of the day. It's not the same. And that's where we have that leeway, because we can, it's case by case. If somebody came in and bought 20 or 30 acres and put up 11,000 panels, then we gotta look at it the same way we're looking at this. But they're leasing that from the town, so I think it's a different ballpark. That's the way I
Right,
see
I
that.
agree with that.
Right, and any contract that would come, assuming that project ends up happening, and we're far away from that decision yet, because they haven't even finished the due diligence out there yet, but let's say it comes to pass, you're right, they'd be leasing the land to produce electricity for the grid, but part of the contract could include power for the town and for municipal use. The contract can be written that way, but certainly the bulk of the electricity is going to go off into the grid.
Away from us,
Yes.
right. Thank you, Phil.
So, question on the, let's say we establish and we collect a building permit fee, whatever the number is, let's say $9,200.
Yep.
What is that covering the town for? Is it covering administrative? Is it covering Pedro's time? Is it, what's that fee being used to cover?
I would say all the above, because that's
Okay.
what a normal fee does cover.
Okay,
But in addition to that fee, you still have to pull a plumbing permit normally, an electrical permit, you have to still pull all those other permits. So you're paying for those other inspectors, just like the electrical inspector, you'll be paying for all those fees as well. So that's an addition on top of this $9,600.
And the engineering
But
fees.
you are right, time in the office, paperwork, whatever, it covers all that. And then the 30K that's where your engineering fees will come out of, and so it's just not $9,000, it's,
so I guess as long as whatever number we come up with covers those additional costs to the town, which is what it's intended to do.
Basically, it's gonna cover Pedro's time. I mean, everything else is already covered by the
fees.
the rest of the fees. So however many times, which we don't know, what is he gonna inspect is what Pedro's time is to go out there. Or if he needed somebody to go with him to check something from an engineering standpoint, but that's really what that,
and they have the $30,000 still.
well, yeah.
Pulling
so
out of
that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
right.
So it's just really strictly the building permit for what Pedro would be doing even if he was building a house, on his aspect of it.
Correct.
Are Pedro's inspections going out there covered by the 30,000 or by the permit fee? That's
I would say the 30,000.
right. So the permit fee is basically for his review in the office. I think what his preliminary work and issuing the permit.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, while we're on issues, I think we should take up the 190 Main Street. There was a memorandum. And we can leave it for new business if you would prefer, because that is on the agenda further down.
Oh, go ahead, you're on a roll.
I'm on a roll. Let's get this one squared away. What is this is for the septic approval at 190 Main Street. And Pedro is in effect asking us,
That's my memo based on talking to Pedro and the septic designer and Glenn Greenwood.
yeah, that is your memo.
so, at 190 Main Street, we have a residence. Is it just one residence?
It's two, legally.
Two.
Two legal and one
I think it was
illegal.
legally, it was two.
It's a
They
two-family
want,
house.
two-family, that's correct.
Yeah.
They wanted a third, and they were refused, because the septic wasn't big enough, and they still put it in. Now, here we are.
So is the septic request now for 2 units or 3?
Two. And then he actually explains that in his letter, Glenn. It's ample enough for two, but he's worried that they're gonna, they've already talked about possibly putting a business in there.
Well, yeah,
There used to be one business in one house, that was the animal hospital.
Right.
Correct.
Dan Burbank's place.
Right. Well, I mean, I can remember running into situations like this on planning board where, you know, we start talking about the what-ifs, and we were always advised that you can't anticipate all the possibilities, and you can't make decisions based on what might happen. So, but it is incumbent upon us as a town to make sure that we, you know, whatever we approve here, that it's made clear that that's what it's for, and if they don't follow it, then we're gonna need to enforce.
That's very challenging.
Well, I understand, but you also can't, if it in fact is two legal residences, you can't deny them a permit to build an appropriate septic system.
They have a failed system right now.
This is a health and, this is a health and safety issue.
Right.
So I don't think we can deny, as a town, we can't deny a septic permit.
I would agree with Glenn. I think that he should
Had the opportunity.
issue the permit, or, you know, approve the septic system. And, you know, obviously inspect it as it goes in, et cetera. And then, because there are other safety issues, and then with the gas heater and all of that, and he's gonna have to keep up with that, and do some visits after the fact. But as Glenn said, you can't, and then they can do everything they want, and then tomorrow make it a bedroom again, as we know all over Kingston, so we really can't, prevent one thing due to another in that case.
I think I agree with Glenn that I think we should request Pedro issue the permit and have it clearly stated for a two-family unit. Because if you read in the letter where he got into problems when they said they wanted to turn the apartment space into an office, that now requires a commercial use tank, a bigger tank, because now it's going to commercial use, so you're going to put an office in there. That's where he's stumbling. He's doing a change of use. And they'd have to go, it says right here, number 1, even though the office is approved use in the district, the owner would still need to go to the HTC and the planning to allow the change of use. And so if you're gonna do the commercial, then you gotta do a different tank. If you're gonna do two-family, you need a different tank. So what are you doing?
I'm guessing the owner has to decide what he's gonna do.
Correct.
If you want this to be a commercial office, then you have to go to septic system B.
Yep.
And assuming he hasn't done that yet, I'm assuming that the septic system he's trying to put in there now is for the two-family.
Correct.
Or if he doesn't, and he just says, no, just make it for two-family, which gives us more than this to do in later on.
Correct.
If he thinks there's an office there, so, but that he needs to
Clarify.
find out from the owner which one he wants, and make sure.
Clarify with owner and issue the permit.
Okay,
Okay?
very good. So, moving right along to poet project. I'm sorry. Sure, sorry. No problem.
What I'm finding out is things like this, we make a decision like this, and then
Watch your microphone.
we make a decision like this, and then the parties that need to take care of the decision don't get notified. So we need to, this particular case, whoever, once this goes, if Susan sends him the note or whatever it does. But there are other issues that I am aware of that, you know, one side gets the memo, the other side doesn't get it, or upstairs doesn't get it, or a week later they get. The information we decide on here goes to the right people.
I think between the both of us, I'm gonna call him as soon as I walk out of here.
Okay.
But she's gonna be in the office to talk to him.
So
And
the next question is for records-keeping purposes. I mean, that's one thing you're gonna call him. Would you actually, in this case, Susan, would you send him a memo? Is that a general rule, not particularly here, but if somebody wants something to change, in order for it to be on file, Pete can go tell him, and we've given him the okay, and it's in the minutes. Would you normally send a memo to Tori or Pedro or
not for everything. I can for this one, because it's kind of a big deal. You want something in the file.
That's all, just a
Yes.
couple,
And the septic person I spoke with today as well, and she's expecting a call tomorrow with whatever is going on, so she'll be aware also.
We should make sure that the decision, whatever letter or memo, also goes into the property file.
Thank you for bringing that up, Chuck.
Thank you.
Move on to the next of the poets, Susan.
Sure. About the access agreements, as you're aware, I tried to keep you aware through email this week. We did have a couple of people that didn't like the original agreement. We took the information from them, brought it to our attorney. She made some adjustments. I sent it back to the one person whose attorney had made some suggestions. That person still has some issues, but he has not come in yet to tell me what they are. So, meanwhile, another person called me, wanted to be on the agenda next week about this, and she has talked to several other people. So at that point, I have reached out to everyone that's on this list and let them know it's on the agenda. Hopefully, sometime this week, we'll have another go-around with that access agreement, try to get one that everyone is okay with.
So, are we having to wait to get all, I mean, if there's 5 or 6 people who have agreed to it and they want to get it done,
Yep.
can they get it done?
They
I'm
can.
asking you, but that's probably up to
They
us.
can, but that's really kind of what I wanted to know what you think about that, because I've had one of those people call me, and I said, well, you know, if you're happy with it, that's one thing, but it seems like we should be consistent. So,
You know, our attorney wrote the thing and it is the way it is, and I understand individuals may have a difference of opinion, but we're trying to get this done.
exactly,
It's for their benefit, because it's not costing the town or the taxpayers any money for these 20 or 25 people.
right.
So my opinion is, if there's a group of people that are ready to go and West Tech is ready to go too, then let's get them in and get them started.
Yeah,
You know, because this could drag, it could drag on till next year.
Yeah, we can't, we don't have the luxury of letting it drag on. We need, these need to be installed and implemented right away.
Okay, so the people that have already signed, I can contact them and say, are you okay with this? If so, we can move forward.
No, I wouldn't
If that's
contact
what you
them.
want.
Well, you got them coming in next
Well,
week. We don't have much choice now,
These
right?
other people that are coming in,
Other than what we originally got and we sent to our lawyer, do we know what these other concerns are?
no, but it has to do with the liability section, the same one we already adjusted, amended. They feel like their homeowner is not sufficiently protected.
Well, you know what? That individual can do what he or she wants to do. I think we need to move forward.
Okay.
We're gonna lose the contract and go back to DES and wait another 2 months? I don't think so.
No, I
We
don't think,
cannot keep doing that.
right, so,
So next Monday night, whoever comes, and either they sign or we're not gonna install them and they can take on the project themselves. We can't, we're trying to do the right thing for the right reasons.
which I've explained to anybody that calls me, but when someone asks to be on the agenda and I've got enough people complaining, I figure it's gotta be addressed.
No, I think that's the right thing. I mean,
Yeah,
Give them Monday.
we hear them out and then we figure out to go from there.
Okay, so that's 2 and 3. Is there any other item under that?
Well, 3 is what WaterTech is asking for an alternate installation.
yes, there's information in there about that also. He found that, he explains it in his letter, the system that they were going to install may cause some water flow, low-level water flow issues with some of these because of the types of wells, and he's suggesting a different system, slightly different. He'll explain that. He doesn't think it's a large change. It doesn't change the contract or the cost. But anything like that has to come to you, and then it has to go to DES.
So we have to approve it before DES?
Yes, if you agree to it, then I send it to DES.
Does anyone know enough to agree to it?
I know quite a bit about it.
Okay, good.
So, no, he is, any type of water filtration system, anything needs pressure
Yep,
to clean the beds, lift and clean minerals off of them.
yeah,
And if you have a low, you have a dug well, and you have a pressure, like some of the old systems, you have a pump in your basement, shallow well pump, they can't produce enough pressure to clean those systems, regardless who puts them in.
Yeah.
So you need to pressure up the system
Okay.
to clean it. So he's 100% right on.
okay.
And you wouldn't know that by driving by all these houses, but shallow well pumps are pretty common here on the plains here.
Okay.
So they need more pressure to clean these.
Which is part of the reason why there's so many wells contaminated here, because they're shallow wells as opposed to deep wells.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
And just so you know, he did bring this to Verdontis first. They reviewed it, and she said, given your experience in Kingston and across New Hampshire, and based on the limited design pumps that you have observed at these addresses, if this is your standard, I will not reject your proposed changes. That's from Brooke to Ryan. So, I mean, these emails all went to you originally, and then I got the final thing to put in your packet.
So this needs, assuming we move forward with this, which I think we should,
Yeah,
because it's necessary to get these things installed and done, it's going to require a change order, right? Or change to the,
It's not exactly a change order, it's
it does
alternative installation request.
but it
So there
requires
is no
DES
form.
to approve it.
But they need to approve it, yes.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion.
thank you.
To approve the moving of this request onto DES.
Second?
Okay, discussion. This is for the change order to ensure the pressure of the water supply.
Right, it relates to the alternative installation request by the water techs, which is our contractor to put in these treatment systems.
And we have a motion on the floor in a second. Any
And-
further?
And just for reference, it's the water tech's letter dated September 9,
Thank you.
2024, which discusses it, so just so we tie it to something.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and so that's approved to make that change order. Okay. Item next is new business budget.
Guess that's me, huh? As you can see, you've all got an updated, well, an almost updated budget for what's going to be presented. And I must say that Paula has done an outstanding job so far with putting the amounts in, but also putting in alongside it some reasoning why or why it isn't there, or if it's an increase, which again is more pertinent for the budget committee people because they always ask the questions, and now maybe this year they'll have the answers on the piece of paper. And going through it relatively quickly, it's pretty much in line with with last year's stuff, with adding in, for instance, on the salaries, the COLA, which brings the salaries up a little bit. There's no other information in there relevant to pay increases, et cetera. And some of the things you'll notice on a lot of the supply lines, some of them are down because some of the supplies are coming from town hall rather than each committee type of a thing. There's a little bit in each one, just in case they need something to go out on their own with it. But other than that, and technically, which we've never done before in the past, is that the selectmen are to get the budget, and the budget is then moved from the selectmen to the budget committee. It was approved as it is and then sent to the budget committee. In the past, we've never seen it till November. So this is just, and it's very early this year, so a lot of information is, from the department heads, is current to what it would be, but it is subject to change, especially all of the retirement insurance and all that. Paula is working on looking at new insurance. Hopefully we'll get some rate changes there. What else? The only...
And those will change once we establish a COLA, proposed COLA for next year?
Correct, we're going to talk about that too.
Okay.
But unfortunately, technically, we can't turn it over yet because unfortunately, the highway department just put their budget in today for the highway and the town buildings, et cetera. So that's kind of askewed the whole thing here. So I guess Paula has everything but the sanitation, which will get put back in, which will be in there for the budget committee to get on the 18th. Hopefully the sanitation budget will be in there by then, I would guess. So that kind of doesn't give us a full picture on the budget. I have not seen his yet either. I guess that's really it for the budget itself. I mean, look at it, self-explanatory. The only other couple of issues that we need to look at is, in order to continue to go with the budget, we should talk about the COLA, whether we want to do that tonight or at another meeting, but just to facilitate. That's one thing that Paula has not put in under the money thing is the COLA, because we didn't know. What I understand is the federal government at this point is like 2.57.
Yeah, that's what they're projecting for next year.
Yeah. So, for financing purposes, and unless we want to talk about it later, I would suggest at 3% as we did last year.
We did 4% last year, so we should do 3%.
3%, well, 3% based on that, yeah.
Why would you not do 2.6?
Well, I'm rounding it up for the benefit of that, but I wouldn't do 2.6 from a math standpoint. I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know, Glenn. I hear what you're saying, and I'm just saying we need to make a decision on whatever we want to do, so she has it, so.
So before we talk about a number, though, I mean, I thought that there was discussion about once, maybe I'm answering my own question, once the wage matrix issue was settled, there wouldn't be COLAs.
Well, you'd still have a COLA in the wage matrix.
Separate.
Yeah, the wage is just your salary.
Okay, okay, all right.
So, well, that's a good question. So does this factor in, assuming that the wage matrix is approved?
No, the wage matrix, once it's approved and we see it, and those numbers are there, and it's approved, that will change, it may or may not change numbers on some of the people, but it is not factored in here yet.
What's the approval process of the wage matrix?
I have no idea. I would like to see that. I have no idea. We haven't.
Well, we're close to having a final report to the board and the budget committee, so we're very close to that. Once that's done, the end of the fall. Paula, did you want to clarify anything for us at this point or not?
Yeah, so we need
you got to come down here and go to the microphone.
We need a COLA even for the wage matrix.
It impacts the wage matrix because
So, and because the COLA carries over year to year, so every year you'll still need to figure out what the COLA is going to be. But it also affects everyone's wages in the budget, which will affect all of the benefits and retirement and all of that, so.
So what's your pleasure? Make a motion. Whatever you would like.
I'll make a motion that we establish the cost of living adjustment for 2025 at 2.6%.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? Chief Graham Pellerin, come on down.
So I don't know if discussion includes me as well, but just keep in mind, I know you want to limit COLA to what it is this year, but just remember that last year COLA in New Hampshire was at about 8%, and you gave half of that. So we're still behind the 8 ball when it comes, or employees are still behind the 8 ball when it comes to the cost of living in New Hampshire.
For 2024, we're not behind the eight ball. Might have been for 23, but not for 24.
Maybe, well, last year, so 2023. The national average with a 10-year to 20-year span is usually 2.5% to 3%, typically. So just keep that in mind that in 2023, I know the town of Danville gave their employees 7% for the cost of living. So just ask you to keep that in mind. Thank you.
And whatever's decided tonight may change as we see the budget work its way through as well. So it's not cast in concrete, but we need to start somewhere. Discussion, further discussion. Okay, all those in favor of at least propose at this point 2.6% COLA, please say aye.
Right.
Okay, ayes have it. As I said, it's a starting point, and then that will filter through the budget. And it may be, go ahead.
One other item that we need to look at, but it involves people in wages, so I think we need to discuss it better in the executive session, non-public or something, in the future, whenever you want to say. Other than that, that's it.
I have a couple questions about it. So,
About the budget?
yeah. On, Paula, on 413009 contracted services, you had a question about,
You might need to come down, Paula, please.
about like PFAS testing and stuff. So we have a contract with Sanborn Head. Where in here is that reflected? Is that contracted services?
It will be, so I don't know what, going forward, for the PFAS stuff, like what the,
You don't know how much.
the expenses are going to be going forward for testing and for maintenance. That all goes in here.
Right, but Sanborn Head is different than, we have a separate contract with Sanborn Head, which is different than this water testing PFAS in the future. So I see what you're saying, because we won't get that cost, we won't incur that cost until 2026. But we have a contract with Sanborn Head.
And their testing and reporting continues.
Well, so that was why I was asking a question.
Right, so, but it'll be in this line?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where that Sanborn Head contract goes?
Yes, and that's why I was asking that, because I don't know what, after the PFAS, like, I didn't know if they were still testing those properties or not.
And I think that's an ongoing thing.
It is an ongoing thing, and the contract with Sanborn Head is for sampling of the site. They have wells that they test. There are sample wells out on the plains and around town. But the contract for the new treatment systems includes the maintenance for the first year. So we shouldn't be building that into the budget, just.
Right, and that's why that's why I asked that.
Except that don't we have to build it in the budget as an expense, and then we still have the revenue side? We have to get authorization to expend the money, so it's got to be built into the budget.
I thought, didn't we do that for last year? I
right,
thought we
that's
did
right.
that last year's budget.
For current
But
year.
if we are not spending the whole thing, is that whole 288,000 going to be encumbered? Are we gonna have contracts?
It has to be,
Right.
yes,
Then it's covered.
okay.
Anything additional that we're getting funding for would need to be
Added in,
added in.
okay. Yeah, so whatever is not expended in this fiscal year has to be
As
encumbered.
long as we have contracts.
Correct, and that's why we'll hopefully get it squared away next week. Okay, any other questions?
So I think that same topic, under Health Department, you have water analysis, 441106.
Yep.
And then it says, hoping that this drops once PFAS installations are completed. So I don't know how that water analysis line is connected to, I mean, just because we're getting the systems installed, it's not like a one and done, right? So I don't know if that line needs to continue, because I don't know what's under it.
So that line is the testing for all of the properties that are covered under the PFAS. So what is it, 20?
Just 21.
That is all the testing that gets done, goes under that.
Is that the testing that's done through Sanborn Head?
No.
Is there's-
If it's just
Eastern
those,
Analytic.
just the 21 that are receiving systems, that's part of the grant work then.
That's gonna change.
Right, and that's why I wrote that note.
The testing and the maintenance after the first year is gonna have to be in the budget. Right now, it's covered by that grant,
Right, but then it'll go back up in 26.
right?
Yep. All right. Yes.
Public comment number 2. Mr. Phil.
Couple things I wanted to cover real quick. There was a question regarding scrap metal collection at the collection center. I thought it had been discussed with this board, but I would look to cover it again. There had been a lot of people requesting scrap metal drop-off, and in consulting with the DES, we would not have to modify our permit if it was for a charitable organization. So the Kingston Public Works Association offered to do that until the board has made a decision regarding the future of the collection center. So we had permission from the DES Dam Bureau to take scrap metal there for this charity. And as we have a scheduled presentation for this board next month, we just figured it was something we could offer to the residents in the interim and still stay within our permit. So that isn't being collected by the town, it's being collected by the Kingston Public Works Association, is the scrap metal down there.
Okay, I guess some of the confusion has come in because if we're paying overtime or any time for employees to collect it and we're using town vehicles to transport it, is that not right? I mean, I understand.
I would say 70% of our labor at the collection center is volunteers.
Well, I understand that, but you still have staff that do it, are always assigned to it, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
except when it's me and I'm volunteering my time.
Well,
We
you're the
have at
best
least
bargain
one
yet.
member of the Public Works Department on scene
Right,
for each event.
okay.
This would have required a modification of our permit if we started offering this to go through the regular channels, and then as we experienced last time, it would take many, many months. So this was a way for us to offer more services, as a lot of people who were going through requested it, and it was also just a way to get the word out there about the collection center, just offering more services. So
I guess I feel, I'll speak for myself, I feel conflicted about that. I think the idea of putting it towards the scholarship fund is not a bad idea at all. However, we're using town resources to collect it, and shouldn't we be, and we charge our residents to bring it over, should we not be using it to reduce the cost of the collection center?
well, this isn't the town scrap metal, this is what people are bringing to the collection center. We haven't cashed any of it in, it's in a pile next to one of the dumpsters, so no town resources have been used, except
Okay.
for maybe a fraction of an hour by
Okay.
potentially a paid employee handling it, but like I said, 70% of the labor down there is volunteers.
Yeah, but
So-
I guess I want to avoid a problem with DES. I'd like to see us get the land that we use for the collection center. That's still up in the air. We haven't got any resolution on that. I just don't want to kick the elephant down the road. I mean, you know, I don't want to get into trouble for something, for an altruistic reason. Do you know what I'm saying? That's where I'm going with it. Because we need to, as a community, we need to decide whether we're going to use the collection center and bring our recycling there and not recycle curbside. I mean, we're coming to that point very soon to make that choice, one way or the other.
Correct, and this was meant in the interim, so we could start getting usable data to see what people would actually bring to the collection center, at least starting to get the numbers in. And it was a way to not have to redo our entire permit to get that data.
Is it a big hassle to redo the permit?
It's enormous. And so if we don't know whether we're going to continue to do the collection center until the board decides, this was a way around that.
Comments from my colleagues?
So just for clarification, nothing's been done, as Phil said, and we're not charging residents to bring their scrap metal. They're just bringing it, and it's just sitting there until we can figure out what to do with it. So it's, no town resources are being expended, because we haven't transported it anywhere. We haven't sold it yet, so we don't have any money to put anywhere.
And quite honestly, I don't remember discussing that we would, scrap metal proceeds would go to the scholarship fund. I don't remember that at all.
And I couldn't find it in the minutes. I thought we had discussed it, but I'm here
did
to clarify that.
Because when I contacted you after that post on Facebook, that surprised me. I just didn't, it caught me unawares, to be honest with you. So that's why I called you.
And again, that was in response to a resident asking what they could do with scrap metal. And one of the stated missions of the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee is to divert items out of the waste stream. So we typically tell people to go to John's Truck and Auto, but a lot of people don't want to go there. And people just started showing up with scrap metal. And they're like, hey, I have this giant thing in the back. Can you do something with it? So
I'm looking forward to your presentation on October 6th, but we may want to also consider opening up the collection center to non-residents. Maybe we might restrict to New Hampshire residents, or just saying, because if we're going to get serious about this, we need to generate some volume.
there are a lot of rules with taking non-resident items.
Okay, fair enough.
The DES is pretty muddy on that one.
They tie our hands behind our backs, but say do it anyways? Yeah, okay.
So is the, right now, the scrap metal that's been brought there, has it been brought there during the days that we accept other recycling? So that we're not accepting it on other times, it's just during those days?
No, it's still the collection days. Right.
Okay.
And there is that exemption there, because if the Boy Scouts want to do a can drive or someone wants to do a metal drive, you don't have to alter your permit to do that. So again, this was just trying to get the data for at least a starting point of what this could bring in.
So when do you renew the permit, Phil? When do you have to renew the permit?
If the board chooses to keep the collection center over at that time, we would start the process of expanding the permit to any potential things that we're going to take there. So other plastics, you know, even, and in talking with the DES, if we have a one-time event, like we have an upcoming e-waste event at the next collection center event, we would have to have that on our permit. So this was part of our discussion with them, that we have to modify our permit to any, even if it's a once a year thing, we need to modify our permit to reflect that. So we would do all of these things at the same time, and just, it's a permit by notification. So they would review it, cite it for completeness, and ask for any other supporting documentation, but their recommendation was wait until you know which way you're going.
Okay. All right. Glenn?
So we're looking for what,
At this point, I don't think we're looking for anything. Is that correct, Phil?
That was just for informational
This is
purposes
just
only,
information,
yes.
okay.
As it's an outside of the town's organization, it's just taking place at a town event, so just for information.
We're not transporting anything, we're just letting it collect there until we decide where it's gonna go from
And
there.
if necessary, I'll use my own truck to go pick it up and haul it down to the scrapyard.
and we're gonna continue to do this for the time being? Okay, good.
Okay. Any other questions for Phil? Do you have anything else? Yes, sir.
I do.
You go right ahead.
Okay, I have a PO for Bell and Flynn for the pickleball court. I was under the impression Bell and Flynn was our accepted paving contractor, but it was requested that I get 3 quotes for this, so I'm letting the board decide what they want to do with that.
When they're looking at that, Phil, didn't we have a conversation about, and this would probably benefit you the most, about, didn't we talk about possibly bonding contractors to work in this town?
Well, what we talked about, there may be instances where we wouldn't necessarily have to go to bid based on just the price alone. And we don't have a policy in place, a structure to which to do that. You know,
It'd almost be wise to do that because it might bite us in the.
right, I think, because when we don't send it out to bid, we get it, and a member of the public could claim that we were making deals behind scenes, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I want it to be cleaner, so we need to have something that the board can work with to allow, Bell and Flynn's, we've been doing Bell and Flynn at least 50 years, I'm sure, if not more. I couldn't think of a more reputable firm, and I know nothing about the contracting business. But Bell and Flynn has a hell of a reputation. If you think they give us the best prices consistently, that's one thing, but we have to have a vehicle, a procedure in place so that the finance director can approve it without, you know, getting upset, or the board can sign off on it, and it could shorten your time with some of these bidding projects. In your business and the highway department, and you have a lot of stuff like that. I mean, that's half of your job is probably getting forced to different jobs to get things done. Am I close?
73% of my job. 73% of my budget is not tied to payroll, unlike other departments.
I understand that makes a difference. I get that, but we need to develop a procedure that streamlines the process on both sides of the equation.
So what has been done for the past 3 years since we went out to bid, this is the third year of that.
Yeah.
And the clarification we got from NHMA is at the board's discretion, we could extend the contract if a competitive bid took place. So in 2022, we had a competitive bid where 4 bidders, it was all sealed bid and all that, and then the board has chosen to extend the contract the past 3 years. This is the last year we can do that, is my understanding of that ruling from NHMA.
Okay, so next year that would have to go out to bid,
Correct.
and then we could extend it for a year beyond the 3 years at that point in time.
I think we can only go 3 years, but again, this
Okay.
is 2022 when this took place, and we've
So just
just
through 2025.
extended with them.
Okay,
So if that can be reflected in the policy moving forward, because it alienates a lot of potential bidders. If we go out to bid, we're only taking the low guy, eventually the one who, and this isn't just paving, this is line striping, whatever,
Yeah.
these things that are over $25,000, they're not gonna bid anymore because they know they're not gonna get the work, so it's a waste of their time. If at least we're spacing it out every 3 years and holding on to the same person, if they're doing satisfactory work, we can develop the relationship with them, one, know that they do quality work, and then I don't have to waste my time going out to bid every year and alienating potential bidders.
right, and we don't want to waste finance office time either. I mean, if they know you have an approved bidder and that it goes through for 3 years, then that makes it easy on that end as well. It's got to, it's got to help both sides of the equation.
And I'm gonna caution the board on, we just spent how long talking about handrailing for the
Yeah,
front?
yeah.
If you take a closed bid on that structure to build those stairs, we're gonna be sitting here in 8 more years.
But
Because,
that's a-
you know, that cheapest number, that's the problem. You get these bids coming in, you have to have somebody that's got some credentials and background that can build those stairs to last.
Correct, but we don't have to take the cheapest number. We have to.
Correct.
We're not bound into that.
Okay, good.
Because you got to go on reputation and credentials and bonding issues that go along. You
Yes.
can't just say, just because they're the lowest bidder, they get the job. That doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
That doesn't cut it. That's not what, I'm not looking for that.
Yeah, well,
I want the quality of the workmanship. I'd rather pay more and get the job done right than have to like the stairs. Perfect example. Perfect example. Yeah.
And usually that's described as lowest qualified bidder. And
Oh, yeah,
therein
yeah, that's
comes
the word.
the consideration of all those other factors.
All right.
So,
Go ahead.
is this an issue because the purchasing policy talks about the $25,000 limit and there was a bigger number attached to it?
So this is our third PO with Bell and Flynn this season. Fourth, I'm sorry.
This is old?
So the issue is, I'm sorry,
Yeah, the issue is this, okay,
So that,
So
their
we're
cost is 10,530. That's what I just read on that, right? That's
Yes.
what they're coming in at.
So we've done all the digging. We'll be finished probably spreading the loam tomorrow, but the final grading and the compaction of it is included in that price, and then the paving. So because they have the specialized equipment, yeah, now I can go out and rent a vibratory roller. I can hope to God that our grader starts and spend 4 days greasing it and working on it to make sure it can actually make it from one end of a 100-foot pickleball court to the other. But this is a lot easier. These guys do this every day, and it's going to be a better final product if we have them do the final grading.
does finance have a list of the approved bidders that fall into that category?
I don't know.
I bet not. I'm just
Okay, past practice has been that we have one paving contractor for the year, and there are additional jobs that added on. We get an initial estimate from them, but if there's money left over, additional block grants come in, things like that, we add work on to that paving contractor. We don't go out to bid.
and this is for a project that there was a warrant article approved for 29,000.
Yes.
And that number had to have come up from somewhere. And
whoever put the warrant article in.
right, or maybe
What that number was based on was someone else doing all the work.
doing everything.
And we
because-
have done a substantial portion
and
of the
because
work
you've
with in-house
done
assets.
you've done a lot of the prep work.
Yes.
It brings that number down. Okay. Well, that's a good thing.
I thought so.
No question about it, but we got some lack of synapses in here we need to fix. So we have the list, we know what we're doing. I'm just saying, I don't know what we're doing sometimes, so you guys gotta help me, that's all. Okay? Anything else that you wanted to?
There was a proposal regarding bottled water delivery I'd like to discuss with the board.
Okay, you wanna do that next?
I'd love to.
Okay, let's do that.
So, unfortunately, this is missing, it's a lot of inaccurate information in here, in the proposal as presented to the board.
Well,
haven't seen
can I
the
suggest something?
We haven't
I don't
seen
think
it.
the
We
full
don't
board
have
has
the
seen it. That email was generated by your other department heads. I would suggest that you get together with the other department heads on that letter.
Well, they specifically state in this email that they've tried to resolve it internally, and they couldn't. So I was unaware of that. So I guess since we're gonna bring it up to the board, this is where it should be discussed.
Well, if my colleagues haven't seen that email, then we can't discuss it tonight.
Susan, didn't you send that to all of them? No.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, how did I see it? How'd you see it? I don't know.
It was in my
Who
email.
did you send it to? I sent it to the whole board. Okay, that's what I thought. Yep. Let's see. What? On Tuesday the 9th, the 3rd, on Tuesday the 3rd.
Go ahead.
So, right off the bat, this discounts the fact that the DPW does use water. So that's not factored into the math there. There's an accusation that there's delivery issues. I'm only aware of one known delivery issue was in February of this year, and I was notified by the fire chief of that there was no water. The accusation was that the town hall ran out of water. When the vendor went to deliver that day that we were notified, there was still 3/4 of a bottle in there, so they didn't actually run out of water. At no point did anyone from the town hall notify us that they were putting the last bottle in there. I have two guys who manage buildings and grounds. Part of that is 36 acres of mowing, about 10 acres of weed whacking, 16 buildings that they're responsible for, painting, mechanical, HVAC, electrical, all of that. 5 of those require daily custodial services. There are 4 baseball fields, 2 playgrounds. I've stressed this in the last 2 department head meetings, that unless there is something that really requires their attention, they are maxed out on capacity. They are not the staff of Downton Abbey that is there to wait on the people of the town hall hand and foot.
Be nice.
Well, there is some personal responsibility required. When people are putting the last bottle into the water cooler, they should notify us to let us know that. So if there is a delivery issue, we can address it. As such, I haven't received any such notification. The only conversations I've had regarding this was with the fire chief. The fire department, with their $5.3 million brand new fire station with a $67,000 water treatment system in it and $6,000 worth of drinking water apparatus, made a big show of hanging signs on all of those to say that the drinking water wasn't safe, couldn't be used. So we got a water test done, and it was signed off by the health officer. So I became aware of that on October 20th of 23, when the health officer told me that he had told the fire department it was safe to drink. Beyond that, the fire department sent the test results on November 17th to Advanced Radon Mitigation, who stated that the water is safe to drink. And the direction I had been given by the select board was to reduce our recurring costs. So that's why we removed the drinking water fountains from the rec center and installed, because it's a drinking water source, we installed bottled water fill-up stations, which has saved us a ton of money on the rec camp. In February 15th, I was notified that water was run out at the town hall. So what has been happening is the fire department is going there and taking the bottled water. I spoke to the supplier. The reason they don't deliver to the fire department is because they went there numerous times and they were out on calls and they couldn't get in. The final resolution on that was we would deliver to the town hall and they would deliver to the police department, and they will only charge us for 1 delivery. They're charging us $9 to deliver to 2 buildings. If we do as proposed and go to 4 separate buildings, they will charge us $10 per building. With regards to the algae on the bottles, there have been 12 bottles over the past 4 months that have had algae in them. They can no longer use those. They have to throw those away. They will be charging us $12 a bottle moving forward for that contamination on their hardware. Back to the fire department. On 17 April, I spoke to them about this delivery issue where they couldn't get in the building. I asked that they set up their own account, and I gave them the Crystal Hills contact information. To my knowledge, they were no longer taking water out of the town hall. So when I found out about this on the 3rd, that was the first I had heard that they were still taking water out of there. We're only as good as the information we're given. So for some reason, people bought a new bubbler for this building that doesn't have the water bottle on top of it any longer. So when my guys are going through and doing the custodial work, they can't see whether there's water in there. So we need the people in the town hall to let us know if they're putting the last water bottle in. So based on the proposed item, although it's alleged the water budget will go up slightly, right now it's $2,400 we have budgeted. If these were to take place as proposed, it'll be $2,304 more than what is currently budgeted. I don't see how that makes any sense. I think it is also very hypocritical of us to recommend that the people of this town put these POET systems in, but we're not willing to do that ourselves. I think bottled water is a stopgap that we have been using to address poor water quality, and we should be installing these on all the buildings. And if people don't like the taste of the water, then we need to address that issue. If there's an issue with the hardware, we need to address that. But we're not required to provide bottled water. We provide water, safe drinking water. And in the fire station, it was tested safe by both the health officer and a contractor. So that's all I had on that.
Thank you.
resolution on that, or what we're supposed to do, or, you know?
Think about it for a little bit. I don't know what to do about it. And why not? I think that should be a department head matter, is what I think. So. Any other comments?
Well, Phil raised something, and I guess maybe Graham can answer it. If there's a system in there, why aren't we looking for a solution to make sure that it's safe and drinkable instead of, because I'm assuming we're paying a maintenance fee or something.
So the reason that I push for a water test is because on a daily basis, I have at least 2, if not 3 employees showering, brushing their teeth, shaving. So yes, in the $5.7 million fire station, we do have a POET system. We have a water softener. They still say that the water isn't drinkable in their words, whether it's a peace of mind thing or, I guess to me, $3,000 in a $9 million town of Kingston budget isn't much to ask for a peace of mind for employees. I don't remember the conversation, and I don't want to get in a match here, but I don't remember the conversation about setting up our own Crystal Hills account. I guess I would absolutely do that if some of the funds were transferred into my budget. I have no problem with that at all. I think that's what the email was based on. I think if you poll a lot of members in the town of the public, that even though their tap water is safe to drink, that they still have bottled water, because again, I think it's just a peace of mind thing. So for being police and fire and highway, some of the most physical, demanding jobs, I don't think it's a big ask. I guess the other thing I would suggest, if depending on what avenue we want to take, is that we test all the water, police, highway, town hall, library, well, library and the rec department are public drinking water sources. But it's totally up to the board.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I mean, and everybody deserves safe drinking water. But from a fiscal perspective, if we're paying for a system, we already paid, but I'm guessing there's a maintenance. We should probably have them come out and address, because it could be another filter that addresses the bad taste. And I get the peace of mind. I mean, we have a POET system in our house, so I understand that perspective. But just purely from a mechanical, if the system is in there and it's not working properly, we should address that. Or that's $67,000 thrown out the door.
I guess I'm going to speak in support of the water, particularly at the fire station. That's the source of the PFAS, and I think so. I'm not sure that it's because the water is bad as opposed to that mental concentration of whether it works or not. And there are a number of, I'm another one that has a system that I put in 52 years ago, and I don't drink my water, but I use it for everything else. And so that's just for my peace of mind. And so I can appreciate employees in the town feeling the same. We do test all the buildings. That's already being, am I correct? And they're all being tested.
That I don't know.
And Phil says, yes, they are. So those that are not potable, and I believe the museum is the only one, maybe this building, right, and we have bottled water here. So from that perspective, I don't have an issue with bottled water. I do think the department head should work this one out. That's my personal opinion. Thank you, Chief. Any other comments on the water or anything else? Okay, let's go on to correspondence. We have a letter from a resident regarding the road work and paving that I will read into the record, and it's a very nice letter, and given that we've had complaints about some of the initial paving in town, it's nice to have something that's nice. This is regarding the surfacing of Ball Road and Rock Rimmon Road. This communication is to state my observation of the resurfacing of Ball Road and Rock Rimmon Road. Phil Coombs, Director of Public Works, deserves to be congratulated for his choice of contractors. All the contractors that I observed did an excellent job of resurfacing both roads. Public safety was ensured with traffic control plans and properly trained personnel directing traffic. Delays were kept to a minimum, and I witnessed no near hits or close calls. The road surfaces were properly prepared, cleaned and crack sealed, so that the final surface material applied would perform in accordance with the material manufacturer's specifications. Contractor equipment operated without breakdown or malfunction. All of the equipment was clean and well maintained. All operators appeared experienced in the operation of their machines and maneuvered with ease and precision. The procedure used appeared to be well rehearsed and delivered excellent results. Initial results for the resurfacing are excellent. The only test yet to be completed is the test of time, and I expect the results to be as represented by Mr. Coombs during his presentation of the project. So signed, Mark Goddard, Ball Road, Kingston. So we get, thank you, Mr. Coombs.
And I will add to that, there was a person on Rock Rimmon Road right in the beginning of it, and I knew she lived there, and she stopped and chatted, and I asked her about what she thought about the road and the project, and she thought it went wonderful, and she thinks the road is in very good shape, I asked about the issues with the kick-up and that, and she goes out and goes to work every day and had no problems with it at all. So I just wanted, since we had that one and the other one there, she was very happy with the outcome.
Okay, that's great. Okay, the next item is a request for a comp time carryover, and I'm going to put that under non-public session because in case there's further questions about other issues related to that, I think it'd be more appropriate there. We also have a request from Glenn Greenwood to discuss seasonal properties at a future meeting, and I think that's critical, to be very honest with you. And let me read the note from Glenn. I would very much appreciate the chance to talk with the Select Board about the problems we are continuously seeing regarding seasonal conversions. I think it would be beneficial to have both the assessors and town council available. Just because someone owns a seasonal camp should not entitle them to believe they own a residential building lot. We are currently looking at a property on Ledge Road that wants to demolish a 1960-era camp with a 3-bedroom home. The lot is on a 6.6-acre parcel entirely located within the Shoreline Protection District building setback. I feel we should take a systematic look at all the camps we have in town and establish a process that may potentially say there can never be anything but a camp on certain parcels of land. I will make myself available for any Monday that the Select Board would like to have this discussion. I am not trying to sound alarmist, but this is an issue that has existed for many years, and we should try to get out in front of it as a town, is what I'm suggesting. So I think that's a great idea, and welcome that opportunity to do so.
Agreed.
Agreed, yes.
Would we do that at one of our board meetings?
I don't see why not. I think it would be good for all of us to be involved in that discussion.
Absolutely.
We could start maybe at 6 o'clock on one Monday, not right this next 2-3 weeks. I think we get a full schedule, but certainly sometime early October.
Yeah, he said it wasn't that urgent, he just wanted to bring it to your attention, so we can set it for whichever, late September, early October, whatever works.
Yeah, I think October is fine. We got a few more things to get through, and I'd like to make sure we do that. And the third item is an invitation from the Kingston Lake Association, and it says, members of the Select Board are invited to the September meeting of the Kingston Lake Association, Gray Pond, to discuss traffic safety-related issues at the state and town boat ramps on Main Street in Kingston. The September meeting is on the 25th at 7 o'clock at the Community Library. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay. Any other business before we go into non-public? Okay.
Our two chiefs are sitting here. Chiefs, what do we have for problems down there with traffic at the boat ramp? Accidents? You get any issues down there? Either one of you? Thanks.
Okay.
I'll make a motion on the minutes
Oh, thank you, yeah.
to approve both public and non-public from August 26, 2024, as written.
Second.
Any amendments, corrections, or deletions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. Okay, so we need non-public. I'm going to start with the department head contracts. And Paul, I'd like you to sit in on that if you would. And then we have, it's non-public session for RSA 91A3 2A personnel and it looks like one legal advice item as well. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? And roll call. Laurie? Glenn?
Yes.
Yes. Chuck and Peter. You want to take a 5-minute health break? Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah. Thank you, Stacy.
So, Adam?